starting off a row in the back of your head for some knotless braids. And this is how I do my knotless braids. You just split it into three and then add the hair like so. And you should have already split up your hair, broken it down. But I use about 4 pieces for each knotless braid. So every time I got back to that side, I added another piece of hair and then I just kept braiding it down. And this is how I add hair going down the braid to make the braid longer. I just do it the same way as I start my knotless braids. This is the row that I did in the back. It only has 3 braids. And this is just to reduce tension in the back of your hair when you're braiding it to the back. And now I started with the triangle part. So I just parted that sides on both sides. And I did my edges as always. I do that before I do my own hair because I like big edges. Oh no! And this is when I did it the first time and I realized that I didn't do the braids going up towards the braids. And it was like making that little curly, ugly thing. I did not like that. So I started over. I had to take all them triangle braids down and redo them. And I braided them upwards to the direction that I wanted them to go. Like I'm doing right now, because I don't know if you see that in the first one. It kind of looks like puffy, like it doesn't look laid how I want it. Next, I just started with the braids straight to the back. And what I did was I started in the middle of my head, like parted from the front to the back. And then I just did braids on opposite sides. So I already did the first braid. And I don't add hair until I get off the scalp because my hair is already so thick. Like, I just don't want it to be like jumbo thick braid. So I braided it all the way to the back before I added hair. And I'm going to show you in the back where I added the hair. It's just like I did the knotless braids. So, I mean, everything is really the same type of process, straightforward throughout the whole head. And I forgot to show y'all how I parted it. So this is how I parted it. I just did the front and how thick I wanted the braid. And then after I got to where I couldn't see, I just pushed the comb all the way back until I reached the end. And that's really how I part my own hair. I don't really use anything to look at the back of my hair for real. So I continued to do my edges first before I started the braid. So this is me just adding the shining gem that I use, because I really just used shining gem at the start of the braid. I didn't use any shining gem throughout the braid or anything because I didn't want my hair to be extremely wet or slippery. So first I just parted off the part that I was gonna braid. Then I just did the same thing from the other 2 braids. Like, you're just gonna continue going until you reach a point where you have 2 braids left, 1 braid on the other side and 1 braid on this side. And then that's when you're gonna do the crisscross braid. So I just kept braiding until I got to the point where I had 2 braids left. All right, so I'm about to start where I started the crisscross braid. So basically, the first one I already pinned to the other side, but I just start the braid and I pull the first triangle over, and I continue to braid. It's just like a feed in type of motion. You just continue braiding it like it was just a part of the hair that you already had, and pin it up when you feel like you need to go to the other side. So I pinned it up over here and then I went to the other side and I added 2 braids at a time. So the first two braids that I want to add to that side, I crossed over, but I wanted the braids to have like a X type of like visual. So I stopped each braid in the middle. Like I'll add the two braids on this side and then I'll pin the side up like I did the other side. And I'll continue finishing the braid on the other side. So this is the second braid that I'm adding. I'm gonna braid it back a little bit more and then I'm gonna pin it. I didn't just pin it after I added the braid because then the braid could come out. So I just continued to braid for a little bit more and then I pinned it up like this. And then on the other side, I added the braid. I kept going and I added the all the braids on that side, on the other side. And that's really how you do cage braids. You just braid up into the last two braids and then you're going to cross over, but you can stop on each braid as needed to add the smaller braids. And this is the finished product. You can see it makes an X at the top over the other braid. So that's really why I named them cage braids. And this is me adding the mousse, and I'm gonna spray it with some got to be, and then I'm gonna blow dry it, and then I'm gonna tie it up with a scarf. I don't know where I got this scarf from. I think it's just my mom's. I stole it or some. Don't tell her. But yeah, this is it. Let me know what you guys want to see next.